There was 20 of the films that I watched in 2018 that came into the complete and utter horse excrement classification.
Is everybody in? Is everybody in?
Your worst of 2018.
All of these are in the complete and utter horse excrement category, by the way. But there are many also that would come into the piss poor category, which is just 2.5 to under 4. And that is, you wouldn't recommend anybody to go through it at all. You just say, don't touch it with a barge pole.
Is there any one or a couple of them you want to mention that probably should have got in there, but just because there was a few other ones that knocked them into a higher scale?
Yeah, when we're saying that we're going to do our worst 10, I can't believe that these particular ones didn't make it. And I'm talking about Deadpool 2. Absolute rot. And I loved Deadpool. Deadpool got 7 or 8, can't remember which, but really enjoyed it, thought it was great. Deadpool 2 was awful, and you just knew it from the start, is that there's something very different about this. It's not what Deadpool was. And it wasn't a surprise to learn afterwards then that the writing had changed very significantly indeed. And Ryan Reynolds had said, I'd like to write this one instead because I think I'm really funny. And it was a complete and utter barrage of these unfunny, self-referential. It was comparing every single mini scene to some other superhero movie or Star Wars or something like that. And it was like utterly unfunny. It was horrendous.
Give us one more before we hit the top 10.
I have to restrict myself to one, do I? I feel I can't do this. I'm on a vent of spleen.
Well, my friend, it's your show. Take the mic.
Let's warn the audience. This could be a 2-hour long episode.
Crazy Rich Asians is one. And again, a box office smash. And I was disgusted.
Okay, Damo, one more before we go.
Well, I'm going to go 2 because we've talked about Robin Hood already because we happened to review that.
He won't do one more. He basically wants to get these off his chest. Okay, Damo, take the mic.
Robin Hood we did talk about, but I just wanted to mention it. And again, it was incredibly bad, but unbelievably didn't make the bottom 10. And Book Club as well. Also, dreadful.
What's it about? Very briefly.
So it's a film about a group of old ladies who meet every month for a book club. Their lives are not very enjoyable at all the time. Then someone comes along and brings 50 Shades of Grey, and they all reluctantly agree to read it. And then, of course, as soon as they start, they are encapsulated by the smouldering sexuality, and they love it to bits, and it changes their lives utterly, and they lead an enriched, sexually fulfilled life from then on. Dreadful.
Okay, come on, let's get into the top 10 of 2018.
This is Project Command. Stand by power transfer. Time is X-10.
King of Thieves. Again, dreadfully written story about old Cockney gangsters who decide to do one last job that will enrich their lives even further. And the concept, of course, is an awful one. And then the stupid script and writing that embellishes it makes it even worse. So an example of how awful it was is that one of the thieves knows how to get into a particular jeweler store because he sees the 4 keys on the security alarm pad that are the most worn, and therefore he knows how to get in, which is a complete load of rubbish. And even if there were 4 worn keys on that pad, there would still be 24 different combinations to try.
Well done. I was doing the probability math in my head. Well done.
I had done that previously, so yes, I didn't come up with that on the spot. But yeah, and that's just an example of the hammy rubbish that you get in this particularly awful dirge.
Albie, Michael Caine, isn't it?
Yep, Michael Caine. It's based on the 2015 Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company robbery.
Oh, true story.
Based on the true story.
Oh.
One of these, so thinking the best we've seen, American Animals, for example, was an example of how they got it very right.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, really true story, and they stuck to it, and so much so that they had the actual people involved in it. Whereas this was, let's just take the story and let's completely go off the rails on it.
9,
The Predator. So big budget action movie, and from the very start it was horrendous. So the visuals were okay, but a bit dated actually, and certainly nothing special. And then everything else was dreadful. Every single line of script was just this hammy gung-ho, goddamn do that now, or goddamn do it for America. And complete shit, complete and utter shit. It's like, this is offending my ears in particular. So horrible.
8,
Nativity Rocks. Coventry is the UK city of culture, and for some reason this particular school has to produce a musical for that. And the brother of whoever was in it previously, who is another nonsensical character, the brother has gone off mysteriously, and his even zanier, even more annoying brother comes along and would love to have given it more marks because it's based in Coventry. It's not that many films are based in Coventry, which is the land or the city of my birth. Interesting factoid. Sorry, Elby, to steal your fact thunder there, but that's quite clearly the most interesting fact about this film.
7,
Dublin Old School. So receiving the award for Worst Irish Film of the Year by a country mile was this piece of filth that was horrendous from the very start. It glamorized criminality and hard drug taking in a ridiculous way. And again, you say, okay, well, that's Train Spotting, isn't it? It's like, and it just shows you how two very similar films can be so different and be at the opposite ends of the cinematic spectrum. I mean, I would have a tribunal or an inquiry as to how this happens, because it's a giant waste of millions of euros, whereas there's no initial quality control saying, I'm sorry, but this is muck. Let's not go any further with it. Okay. But it was bankrolled. It was encouraged. And of course, worse still is that you have major Irish film critics who feel compelled and did issue 4-star reviews for this. It's like, you definitely did not think that personally, because you watched the same film as I did, and it is abhorrent, absolutely dreadful. Okay. Nobody should have been asked to pay €12 to watch this.
6,
Pacific Rim Uprising. Huge budget. Again, awful writing. And this is a massive theme, is that if what the actors and actresses are uttering is terrible, then you're not going to enjoy the film, period. It's a basic, and is it that hard to do? I wouldn't have thought so, but it seems it is, judging by the amount of $100 million movies that are falling down into this awful, awful writing.
5,
The Nun, another box office smash, again, for people who say, oh, I love horror movies, let's go along. It was farcical writing and farcical levels of believability, so that's an instant turn off for me. And I didn't see anything particularly scary about it at all either, which, you can excuse certain things if it does have that at least, but I didn't. I thought it was completely dreadful.
4,
Mile 22. From the get-go, mind-bogglingly stupid. And the whole thing was utterly farcical and implausible. You have a scene where the 17th richest person in America walks in off the street to the FBI because her accounts have been cleaned out and she's been duped by maverick, ball-busting Mark Wahlberg into believing that the French ambassador, he spins her story saying, yeah, we're going to get you diplomatic immunity by the French ambassador to the US. He's a good friend of mine. And maybe even a marriage proposal. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? This is so idiotic.
3.
I feel pretty. So, if you've seen any Amy Schumer film and didn't like that one, then this will be the most awful cinematic experience of all time, likely, or very close to it. Her shtick is, in every single film, it's like, oh, hi, I'm really fat, but I want to project that I'm really hot, even though I know deep down that I'm not really very hot. And it's completely the wrong message. It's like, don't focus on that at all. It's like you're not categorized by being hot or not, whether you're thin or fat. Stop obsessing about it and stop bringing in millions of people into that battle with yourself. And that is the entire film. It's like, oh, I'm really ugly deep down, or I think I am. And then, but really, I'm an amazing person inside, and let's try and get people to see that. It's just terrible. And everything that went through it, all the mini hilarious scenes, of course, were eye-rollingly awful.
Do you think she's hot?
I don't think she's not hot. I don't think she's pig ugly. She isn't.
Yeah,
you know, and
nice.
stop obsessing over it.
2.
Action Point. It's loosely based on a true story, therefore not very much based on it at all, if it's the second worst of the year, about a fun park owner who doesn't care for health and safety at all and does wacky things. And again, just awful story. Humour doesn't hit remotely.
Is there anyone famous in it? By the way,
Johnny Knoxville.
Johnny Knoxville.
He is the wacky
Yeah, you can imagine
fun
the
park
pitch.
owner.
You can imagine the pitch. Johnny
Yeah.
Knoxville owns a amusement park. There's the movie.
1.
So, Damien, your 2018 winner of the worst movie is
The Seagull. The most pretentious bilge I have seen ever, I think. Based on the Chekhov play, and just everybody, you can see everybody is in their own artificial world, and every line that comes out of their mouth is the most pretentious nonsense that made me want to puke.
Sorry. So this, is it like one of these movies where sometimes you get actors who love being actors and they'll throw out a line with, like, you know, indulge in it so much?
It was utterly self-indulgent, yeah, definitely. I think there probably was a lot of that. I said, oh, can I just put in this line instead of the one that's in the script? And the director, who was clearly awful, said, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do that. So that the end product was ridiculously all over the place. And just, it's like, what the hell is going on here? This is rubbish.
So it wasn't tightly based on the Chekhov play. It was just...
It was on, yeah, it was, I think, on Chekhov, that he was a tortured soul and he was writing these plays, and he needed his solitude, and he was deeply misunderstood. That's all fine. I'm sure that was all correct. But just the way it was portrayed, and, you know, it was so disjointed. It was horrible.
Nice. So a worthy winner.
Worthy winner, receiving an absolute 0 out of 10. There was nothing I could give it even a half mark for.
Damien, I hope for many more complete horseshite and piss punner movies to review, and best of luck to all movies for 2019.
You'll know that I am called the Count. because I really love to count.